If I have my Germany cup, we must be talking travel. And that's coming right up. Hi, I'm Arnie of Arnie and Jo Are on the go.com, where we talk travel, tech, and lifestyle. If you're into any of those three, why not consider subscribing? Also, don't forget, make sure you click that bell icon so you'll be notified every time we put up new content. I remember the days when flying was a really big deal. This was when I was a child, but I do remember it pretty well. And one of the main things was that it was not just about transportation, it was about the event, remembering that this was something special. And I particularly remember the meals. Meals were served on real china with silverware. Can you believe that? The most memorable of these was a flight to France when we moved there in 1962. I was 10, but I remember it well because it was so unlike what my mother usually cooked. It was that different. The selections were coq au vin and bœuf bourguignon. The aroma, the flavors, like I said, it was so different from what I was used to. Like I said, I still remember it to this day, some 50 years later. But what does that have to do with the topic of this video? Airplane etiquette. Well, one of the other things that I recall was that people seem to be more courteous to one another. Now, if you have spent any time flying in the last decade or so, you know that none of these things are particularly true today. Well, maybe if you're able to fly first class they are, but not for the rest of us. Flying these days seems to have become a major pain in the butt from the beginning to the end. Standing in interminable lines at security, the possibility of getting frisked. So, knowing all this, what can we do to make the experience a little more bearable? Well, here are a few tips that may help. Not a guarantee, mind you, just offering the possibility. Number one, flying while sick. We all know that being trapped in an enclosed space is just an invitation to spread germs. So if you're sick, please consider others and don't go if at all possible. Understanding that this is not always possible if you must travel and you're sneezing and coughing, sneeze or cough into your elbow. So much better than into your hands. Oh, and make sure you have a fragrance-free hand sanitizer to help prevent the spread of germs. Number two, odors. A major irritant is people not thinking that others may not appreciate the pungent aroma of the food they bring on board with them. You may find the smell of sauerkraut to be divine, but others may find it nauseating. Oh, and remember, my comment about the fragrances in number one, that goes for perfumes and colognes also. Some people just can't tolerate these things physically. That takes us to number three, sounds. For heaven's sakes, please avoid being one of those people that feels they need to have a long conversation on the mobile phone while in line. Truly aggravating. Yes, sometimes phone calls are unavoidable, but just make it short and sweet if it's possible at all. Which kind of leads me to the next thought. Many of us use headphones and earbuds when flying these days. It's understandable. We want to drown out the constant din of the flight. So please, keep the volume down so that people in the seats next to you don't have to hear it too. I mean, think about it. Not everybody appreciates Rachmaninoff or, well, you name it. All right, number four, respect the space of others. As airlines pack more and more people into a very limited amount of space to try and maximize their profits, being more aware of how you impact other people's space becomes more and more important. This is something that I have to work on myself, I admit it. I'm 6'8" and I take up a lot of space. I try to minimize the impact I have on other flyers as much as possible. What do I try not to do? Well, as hard as it is, I try not to spread out and hog both armrests. I seldom, if ever, recline the seat back. I make sure that carry-ons actually fit into the overhead bins and that whatever needs to go under the seat is small enough to fit there. And number 5, this is a biggie. Lots of people get into disagreements on this one. Jostling seat backs. We all need to get up out of our seats during a flight from time to time. In fact, I spend a good deal of a long flight on my feet, but be aware of how you are affecting those around you. It's quite a natural thing to grab hold of something near you to help you get up, but when that thing is the back of the seat in front of you, you're invariably going to bother the person in that seat. Maybe spill a drink or something like that. It's so irritating. Oh, and while I'm thinking about it, how about if you've got kids, controlling them and making sure they're not kicking the seat back in front of them or putting their feet up there. Kids like to do that. I used to like to do it. Just something to think about. I've made it sound like the good old days were just that, the good old days, but of course not everything was rosy in those good old days. Lest we forget, smoking was accepted on flights. I mean, you could even say it was encouraged. Well, maybe things aren't so bad now after all. So there you have 5 tips making life on a flight more enjoyable. Hopefully. I'm sure that I've overlooked something. So why not add to the conversation by leaving a comment below? What are some things that you appreciate? What are some airplane etiquette ideas that you'd like to add to this? I'm sure we can have quite a number added to the list. So if you like this kind of content, please leave a comment below, give us a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe. And also, please share this with your friends, people who might be considering flying, and maybe it's their first time, they haven't done a lot of flying, some things that they might want to think about. See you next time. Thanks for stopping by.